Are we destined for the greatest Formula One season so far? 2025 is set to be one of the greatest Formula One seasons of all time. You have a scenario just like we had in 2021. You have the best driver not in the fastest car. The fastest car in 2021 was the Mercedes. The best driver was in a Red Bull, the second fastest car in the field. But in this season, it's not going to be a 1v1 situation like we had in 2021. This could be a 1v1, v2, v2 with Max in the Red Bull trying to get title number 5. Lando finally getting the monkey off his back last year, winning races, being dominant, being in the best car. He is a legitimate championship contender. And then you have the Mercedes with George Russell, rookie Kimi Antonelli. Who knows what we're going to get out of Kimi? But with George Russell, the improvements that Mercedes have made in the back half of the 2024 season, you can only expect they are building off of that to be a legitimate contender. And then the news that rocked Formula One going into last year, Ferrari with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, the best 1-2 driver lineup we have maybe ever seen in Formula One. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an action-packed season, so make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my rants coming up throughout the season. There's already going to be a few in NASCAR. There is most definitely going to be some coming out of IndyCar. And of course, Formula One, there is never any shortage of controversy, especially with what is brewing this year. So let's just go through let's just go through team by team, shall we? Because there's a lot to unpack with just the grid alone. So we're gonna start with my favorite team, my guy, Red Bull, Max Verstappen. They have made a driver lineup change, which is going to be a trend here in this section. Max Verstappen, obviously, he's coming back. But alongside the New Zealander, the young rookie Liam Lawson, Christian Horner has been high on this young man, and he's shown that he definitely has talent, and there is definitely potential to be unlocked. The goal here for Red Bull may not be to win the Constructors. It's just seems a little bit too far out there. But if Liam Lawson comes in, guns blazing, bats swinging, Red Bull could take home all the gold. But it's all going to depend on Liam Lawson. And does he step into that without missing a stride? Is he that driver that has that fire we have not seen since Max Verstappen? And also, there's a little bit of building for the future here, even though that's what the RBs are for. You gotta push them up. Checo wasn't getting it done last year. That's just the reality of the situation. And it sucks for Checo that this move happened so late in the year that once the music stopped, there was no seat for him to go to. But Red Bull, they had to make this move. I believe it is the right move, and I think Red Bull understands that you have to give a young driver like Liam Lawson time. That is what they failed miserably with Pierre Gasly, with Alex Albon. And hopefully, Red Bull stays patient and gives Lawson time to grow and develop in this car. I think they will. I do believe that it is going that this year for Max is for the driver's title, it is going to be the toughest one he has faced yet since becoming champion. Obviously, 2023, there was a little bit of a fight from Ferrari in the front half of the year, and then it was just Max's. And then 2023 was just a absolute boat racing of the field. And then last year, Red Bull had maybe the fourth fastest car. And Checo had been screaming for a year and a half that there is something wrong with this car. That is something with the floor that is not right with the car. And we're going to see during the offseason, without their boy genius that is now left for Aston Martin, we will find out. We'll find out whether Red Bull has made the necessary adjustments to catch back up to McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes, or is Max going to have the drive of his life each and every single Grand Prix weekend? Because with what we were seeing out of the car in the back half of the year, cannot happen again. It cannot continue if Red Bull wants to get back to at least having Max repeat as a 5-time defending champion and to get back on top of the Constructors' title. Because if they come out with the same car that they had at the back half of last year, it is going to be rough sledding for Max and Liam. So, moving on to the Ferrari. We've all heard the news, and we've been waiting for this for a year. Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari. He has joined the great empire, the most famous team in the history of Formula One, the oldest team in F1. Alongside Ferrari's boy wonder, Charles Leclerc. This is going to go one of two ways. This is going to be a match made in heaven, and Ferrari is going to have a duel. It's going to be a battle for the Drivers' Championship between the two, with the Constructors' title well in hand, which I don't think is going to happen. Or there is going to be a constant fight back and forth between who is going to be the number one driver. Charles ain't going to back down from being the number one driver. Lewis has shown in the past he is not backing down from being the number one driver. And the question is going to be, if there is no clear breakaway between the two, does Ferrari straddle the fence? And do they straddle the fence correctly? There's you can straddle the fence, but you got to do it right. And knowing Ferrari, they're going to find some way to screw this up. They are. It is just the reality of Ferrari. I think Fred Vassar is one of he is a very good team principal. He is a great leader. But there is a lot of ego there. And it's not a knock on Lewis or Charles. That's just the reality. There is a lot of ego there. there was a lot of pride there. And neither one of those guys, and rightfully so, are going to back down from being the number one driver. Lewis, he's going to give you that consistency that Charles has struggled at. But Leclerc is one of the most aware drivers of every situation going on I have ever seen. And so, does Charles take that next step? Does he add to that consistency? Does Ferrari keep up with the field? That has been Ferrari's struggle over the last number of years. Ferrari has to be able to keep up with the field as the upgrades come. They went the wrong way last year. They were able to bounce back to a degree at Italy, at Monaco, and then they began to fall off a little bit. So it's going to be a game of riding the fence, massaging egos, and keeping up with the upgrades as they roll out with the other teams. Next is the one of the two teams that kept the driver lineup the same, and rightfully so. The reigning, defending Constructors champions, the McLaren. Well, McLaren. I am not a big fan of Zach Brown, even though he is. I do believe he is American. He does have American blood. He is also very annoying to me as a Red Bull fan. I'm not gonna lie. I find him very annoying. But nonetheless, he is charismatic. He is smart. He is very, very good at this. And being able to snatch Piastri from Alpine was a move of brilliance and saved Oscar Piastri's career, quite frankly, given where Alpine has been going. The question is going to be, can McLaren avoid being Ferrari? They have had some boneheaded mistakes last year. Some head scratching, some that just makes you sit back and say, what the? And I think his name is Andrea Stella, the team principal. Now, Zach Brown is the CEO. Stella is the team principal. Just for the newer fans who may not quite understand the inner workings of, in this particular case, McLaren. Zach Brown calls the shots. Stella runs the day-to-day operations as team principal. And it's going to be interesting to see whether McLaren can avoid those bonehead mistakes that we saw last year. They cleaned it up in the back half of the year. There's no guarantee that it's still going to stay cleaned up going into 2025. Also, you have, just like with Ferrari, you have two talented drivers. Lando Norris appears to be the clear number one, but if Oscar Piastri comes out swinging, he runs consistently. He struggled at that last year. He didn't run as consistent as you would hope and run alongside Lando Norris. But with another year under his belt, a year of actually being competitive, getting a few wins himself, there has to be some consistency out of Oscar Piastri, which is a great thing for Oscar. Maybe not the best for McLaren, as you might have that struggle of who's the number one driver. So that's going to be the big question coming out of McLaren, especially if Oscar comes out hot and maybe Lando comes out a little cold. You make that switch on one driver, two driver, or you stick with Lando, who has shown to be more consistent throughout the year, at least in 2024. So that's the big question out of McLaren. And then Mercedes. The team that got left at the altar by Lewis Hamilton, who has given Hamilton 6 of his 7 championships. George Russell, he is back, obviously, but with Kimi Antonelli, the young phenom, and Toto Wolff, one of, if not the best team principal out there in Formula One today. They made some tremendous upgrades in the back half of the year, made them competitive, and we'll find out. Now, unlike with McLaren and Ferrari, there's a clear 1-2. They're pretty much, Red Bull and Mercedes are hand in hand on what to expect, except Russell's expectations aren't quite as high as Verstappen's, because Russell hasn't been to that mountaintop yet. He has won races. He hasn't sniffed a championship yet. Now, Kimi, the biggest goal here, it's not as lofty as Lawson's. Finish some races, get some laps under his belt, and then once that confidence grows, let's see what he has. This is going to be a multi-year project for Kimi. There is no guarantee there's no guarantee that this is going to work, but Toto Wolff truly believes Kimi is the next Max Verstappen, the next Lewis Hamilton. Or otherwise, he wouldn't have brought him all the way up from F2 straight to Mercedes. Which really says a lot, because Mercedes, they don't take these kind of risks, especially at this stage in their development. If it was back when they first came in the I think it was the mid 2000s, yeah, they might have taken a swing. But here, no. Unless Toto Wolff is real damn sure he has found a young phenom prodigy that is Kimi Antonelli. And Toto Wolff, like I said, he's one of the best out there. And I'm going to trust Toto Wolff that he has found the next phenom. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how Kimi pairs up with Liam Lawson. That's going to be your comparison. Not a perfect comparison, because Lawson does have F1 seat time. Kimi does not. But it will that's going to be the big comparison, and Kimi and Liam are going to be forever tied together because this is their rookie seasons. I don't think that a championship is a feasible expectation for Mercedes, but George Russell getting some wins, having some consistent finishes, Kimi getting the points, finish well, finish races, get some laps, grow that confidence, and maybe in the back half of the year, George and Kimi together, they make a run and they make some noise and maybe catch up and make it interesting. Make this 3-team dance between Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren a fatal 4-way for the title. It's definitely a possibility, but I think Mercedes is kind of in an island on their own. And then you have the other team that has not made a change to the driver lineup, even though they probably should, because you got Fernando Alonso, one of the most interesting characters in Formula One, one of the best, former champion, and then you have the silver spoon Lance Stroll, who has shown he is so far out of his He is so far past his britches that it ain't even funny. I mean, Fernando's going to carry the ship. Lance Stroll, he's going to get points here and there. We'll see. They do have Red Bull's boy wonder engineer. Gosh, his name escapes me. But I would expect that Aston Martin they're going to make a jump, and they could make some noise. We'll see. We'll see how it all goes with Adrian Newey now manning the building the car, essentially. For those who may not know, Adrian Newey is the boy genius who built Max's car, Red Bull's car, a couple years ago when they won every single race on the Formula One calendar except for Singapore. So we'll see if that can be replicated. I think it's going to take about a year. Also, you have the new regulations coming in 2026, so who knows what happens. There's a lot that can change, especially with Aston Martin going to Honda as an engine supplier. But as far as this year goes, Fernando Alonso, maybe some podiums. He's the X factor here. He alone can play party crasher to this Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren dance. They could compete with Mercedes depending on how Kimi does early on, but it's all going to depend on whether Lance Stroll shows that he belongs in F1, which he has shown no, or I mean, gosh, this could be Aston Martin's a sleeper. We'll just put it that way. They're a sleeper depending on Lance Stroll. And I have lower hopes for Lance Stroll than I have for Kimi and Liam. And then we have the Red Bull sister team, the RBs. Yuki Tsunoda, he's back but this time with a rookie, Isaac Hadjar. I'm going to be honest, I only know Hadjar from racing against him in the Formula One game. We'll see how well he does. This is going to be the absolute definition of finish races, don't do anything stupid, and don't wreck it. And we'll see if there's any, and we'll see in the second half of the year whether Isaac can keep up with Yuki, or is there going to be a Nick DeVries situation where he's getting the hook right away because we know it's a failure. Now, Yuki, you got to believe that there's some serious sour grapes getting passed up for Liam Lawson. He hasn't shown the consistency in the RBs. He has shown that he's fast, just not consistently. He is one to fly off the handle if things go wrong. He doesn't quite have the talent to make up for those kind of attitude issues. And I'm going to be honest, I see RB as a back marker. They're going to be, I don't see a whole lot of points. 10 would be incredible, but I see some rough sledding ahead for the RBs. Next, a complete overhaul of the driver lineup. You have Oliver Behrman, the rookie, and then Esteban Ocon, who is I don't know why he's there. I really don't. Um, had a mutual ugly breakup with Alpine. Uh, it's a bit of a lateral move with a lower ceiling. Haas has improved over from 23 to 24, but yikes. And Oliver Behrman, he is going to be the guy that replaces Lewis Hamilton when Lewis Hamilton hangs it up. If he is able to perform like he had been in his handful of races last year. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if Ocon can luck his way into into some points. Oliver Behrman, I think he'll be able to grab some points here and there, but it's not. My expectations aren't very high. Alpine, they made a singular driver change, booting out Esteban Ocon, rightfully so, or Jack Doohan. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Jack. The big thing for Jack is to follow in Pierre Gasly's footsteps. Finish races, don't wreck the car. That's going to be the big thing. Finish races, don't wreck the car. Pierre's going to have to be the one to score points while Jack's figuring this stuff out. We'll see what happens with Jack and Pierre and how Alpine has developed. They are going to the Mercedes engine. They are no longer supplying their own anymore, which is going to be a good thing for them because they just haven't shown speed in a very long time. They had the one good finish that knocked him up the pecking order at Brazil, finishing second and third. So we'll see what happens with the Alpine, see if they take a step forward. If there is a team that takes a step forward, I do believe it's Alpine, specifically with Gasly. I do think Gasly is maybe the best driver in the midfield that isn't Carlos Sainz, which we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, Alpine, I do think they'll be. I do think they could be that leader of the lower mid-pack tier. And then we have Williams and they are definitely an X factor here. They maybe have the best two-driver lineup of the lower half of the pack with Albon and Sainz. This is the start of a multi-year rebuild. And this time they have two good drivers to go with it. Now, and we know Alex can go. We know Carlos can go. Now it's going to be on Williams' principal, James Vowles, to give them the car to be able to compete. And I know what I said about Alpine. I take that back. Williams completely escaped my mind when I was saying that. Williams, they could go as high as 6th, maybe nip at the heels of Aston Martin, depending on how well Adrian Newey rebuilds that car. But as far as driver lineup versus driver lineup in the back half of the field, Williams has it. They have the best two. The best two when you put both of them together. I mean, Jack Doohan, rookie, X Factor. Oliver Behrman, rookie. Who knows? He's got some seat time. He's looked good. But Esteban Ocon, very inconsistent. Prone to make stupid decisions. Which is quite on par for Haas. But we'll see how it all goes. And then you have the perennial back markers of last year. Full overhaul driver change. You have Nico Hulkenberg coming from Haas and Gabriel Bartatello coming in. I have no idea who Bartatello is. Was he the one that was at Williams the second half of the year? I think so. I could be wrong. Nonetheless, this is just another lost year for Kick Sauber. Yeah, they got the cool paint scheme. I like the green and black together. I like the Kick colors. But it's it's gonna be it's gonna be just another year of being a back marker. Probably not gonna score any points. If I was gonna put any money down on who's not gonna score points, it's gonna be Sauber. It's just gonna be a lost year for Nico and Bortolo, or the rookie driver. So I'll move on to my official predictions for the 2025 season. I'm going to try to take as much bias as I possibly can out of this. No promises. I do think that McLaren repeats as the Constructors' champions. Very, very close, though. I think Ferrari is going to be no. I'm going to say Red Bull is going to be second. Red Bull close second. I think Liam figures it out the back half of the year, and then Max and Liam make a nice little run together. Then Ferrari third, Mercedes fourth. I'm going to go Williams fifth. Williams finishes fifth. Aston Martin sixth. Alpine seventh. RB eighth. Haas ninth, and then Kick Sauber 10th. That is my prediction for the F1 Constructors title championship. McLaren repeats. Now the drivers' title. That is so much up for grabs. Even more up for grabs since 2021 when it was Max and Lewis. We'll obviously, if I have Red Bull finishing second in the Constructors, that's more than likely going to mean Max has won the world title. I do think Lando Norris comes in a closer second than he did last year. Could very well come down to the race in Abu Dhabi. I do believe that we won't have a clinched title until at least Qatar, which is the second to last race of the year. Unless they moved it around on me. Did they move it around on me? I don't remember. Hold on. One moment. Oh, get out of my way. Okay, yeah, Qatar. I think Qatar is going to be the first chance at a clinched title. But I think more than likely we're going to get into a situation where Max is going to have to finish 8th or better to clinch the title in Abu Dhabi. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out, but I do think Max wins the title. Lando is second. I'm gonna say, gosh, after that it's a crapshoot. Does Oscar run more consistently? How does Ferrari collapse? I could easily see Ferrari collapsing. What does Williams do? Does Williams kind of break up that party? Where does Liam or Kimmy come on strong the second half of the year and steal a couple wins? It's so much up in the air after that. I'm gonna say Piastri finishes third, Charles fourth, Lewis fifth, Lawson sixth, or Russell sixth, Lawson seventh, Kimmy eighth. Jeez. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, but Leclerc, Lewis, it'll be, jeez. So, Max, Lando, we'll go Oscar, Charles, Lewis, Russell, Lawson, Kimmy, Sainz, and Alonso. So that is my prediction as far as the season goes. And now I guess it's only fair that we dive in to what could possibly happen in the first race that is coming up this weekend in Australia. I don't know what the weather is supposed to be like. See if it gives me some sort of weather. Of course it doesn't. Visitor's guide. Where can I watch it? So nothing yet as far as what the weather is going to be looking like. Gosh, it is so early on in this. I'm gonna go with a feel good story. I'm gonna go with the early upset, the early shocker. I think Oscar Piastri is gonna win in Australia. I think he's gonna win the Grand Prix in Australia. I like the nice feel good stories, even though it wouldn't be good for Max to. I do believe that this is a very important race for Max Verstappen to win. If he has to at least finish ahead of Lando Norris to keep that mental edge that he's had, that has been slowly decreasing as the weeks have gone on. But I'm going to go with Oscar Piastri winning the Grand Prix. I'm going to say Max finishes second, and I'm going to go with Lando third. Actually, no. Better yet, because I love chaos. Let's start 2025 with a bang. Max and Lando get together some way, somehow. They cost each other a podium. So, Oscar wins. We're going to go with, and then I'm going to say Russell edges out Lewis Hamilton for second and third. And I'm talking like they're battling to the finish behind Piastri. So, I think Oscar wins, Russell second, Hamilton third. That is going to be my prediction for the Australian Grand Prix. The actual strategy itself, I believe it's a one stopper. I if I remember correctly, it was raining last year, so it's gonna be a little bit it's gonna be a little tough to figure out exactly the strategy going the way that I normally do, but I don't think it is impossible ask. So, according to 2024, so it's going to be similar. It is actually a two-stopper. The expected pit windows. So the first one is going to be, so there's 3 strategies. First strategy, you're starting on the mediums. You're running about 14 to 20 laps. Coming and getting the hards, going from lap 33 to 39, and then you're going the rest of the way on the hards. In the second strategy, you're going a little bit longer, going from 19 to 25 on hards. And then that second stint is going to be on the mediums from 25 to 33. And then you're finishing it out on the hards. Now, the aggressive strategy, the desperation strategy, starting on the softs, going 9 to 15 laps, and then going hards the rest of the way. And then having that second pit stop be somewhere between 31 and 37 laps. So that is going to be the pit strategy. So under green, the pit stop loss, the time you lose on pit road, under the green, it's 20 seconds. Under the safety car, 13 and a half. And now from 2016 to 2013, we've seen a safety car 67% of the time. A virtual safety car 50% of the time, and then a red flag 33% of the time from 2016 to 2023. So that is something to keep in mind over the course of the weekend. That there is a very good shot we will be seeing some sort of shenanigans, some sort of race break, delay, caution, safety car, red flag. Something is going to happen. Now, last year, it was fairly tame through most of the year. There was only a handful of races where it just hit the fan. Austria with Max and Lando. Monaco, you had 2 separate incidences happen in the first lap. So it'll be interesting to see whether they stay tame, or do we see Max seeing red? Because when Max sees red, carbon fiber is going to end up on the track. And as much as I hate that, it's the reality. So we'll find out what all happens. I'm very, very excited for this season. This is going to be a season we won't soon forget. So many stories coming into this. So many different ways this season can go. I can't think of a season where you could put up 5 different names and they would have a legitimate shot at winning the championship. Here you do. Max, Lando, Oscar, Lewis, Charles, George, even Fernando Alonso, depending on what kind of quick magic Adrian Newey can do. I think he's a very long shot, but not impossible. So, buckle up, pull those belts tight, because 2025 is going to be the wildest season we have ever seen in Formula One. I'm Patriot Dylan. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. so you don't miss any of my motorsports episodes, whether it's the talk show itself like we're doing now, whether it's the video games that I will be pre-recording now instead of streaming, just because internet doesn't allow it, unfortunately. So, gosh. And then make sure to follow on the socials, Patriot Dylan on X, Patriot Dylan on TikTok, and we will see you in a bit.